Good morning, everybody. It's KB5MIQ, Big Boy. Hey, Ham Radio Cat. Ham Radio Cat's up here with me today. We're going to have some random stuff we're going to talk about in this video. And this is mainly still centered information for new hams and some things I'm seeing on social media, some questions I've been asked. So, for one thing, and this is a new feature that's been out probably 15, 20 years that wasn't available when I got licensed, and that is the Vanity call sign. I think that's a good idea. Honestly, if I'd had that option when I first got my call, I probably would have changed mine. KB5MIQ with the East Texas drawl, sometimes it's hard for people to understand, even phonetically. And then I don't spell mine correctly, phonetically correctly on the air, because I'll explain that in earlier videos. For some reason, when I say Mike, India, Quebec, for some reason they're hearing Ike, India, Quebec, and they're saying I'm saying India, India. I always say Mexico, India, Quebec. So that seems to work better. But here's a good point on Vanity call signs. And a buddy of ours changed his for this reason. The whole United States is divided into call districts from 1 to 0. And we're in call district 5. All right. Good friend of ours that checks in on the net occasionally, Adam, he had a Vanity call sign of November 2, Bravo, Charlie, Oscar, N2 BCO. He made that Vanity call sign up because he's a big Bronco fan. He likes Ford Broncos. So the call sign was N2 BCO, meant he was N2 Broncos. The problem with N2 BCO, and I cleared talking to y'all about this with him, is every time he'd ID and tell somebody he lived in Northeast Texas, why you got a New York call sign in Texas? So he has changed his now to WW5 Alpha Hotel. So if you get a Vanity call sign, that's great. I got no problem with it. But remember what call district you're in and try to incorporate that number in it. Even though you can legally put any calls and district you want in there, I'm really surprised they let you do that. You can do whatever you want. But if you put a number in there that's not your call district, it's going to cause you people to question you down the road when you're on air. And that's why I had them change his. I've considered changing mine, but I'm so single-minded. If I got a new call sign, I'd use KB5MIQ for 3 months because I wouldn't remember the other one. And now I'd have to change my YouTube channel and all that, so I'm not changing mine now. I would have changed it at one time, but I'm not going to change it now. Vanity call sign, if you want to do one, that's great. I don't have a bit of problem with it. But let's say just try to use whatever call district you're in as your number, and then whatever else you can make up, that's great from there. Had another guy, and I looked for this post and I couldn't find it. And this is a good way to get social media to chastise you. And as a ham, this is something you should have learned. I saw a guy post, I'm a new tech and I make all my 10-meter contacts from 28.3 to 29.3. And he put that on social media and he immediately got lessened. And we need to operate within the limits of our license. We really do. As we've said before, tech phone privileges on 10 meters are limited to upper sideband only, 200 watts PEP only, and from 28.3 to 28.5. If you go above 28.5, you're out of band on your operating privileges. So try to remember that. Saw another one. In fact, I had this question asked me. A guy asked me what power supply he needed for an older Kenwood. And not knowing exactly, but I had a pretty good idea what the amp draw on the older HF rigs were, because they were pretty much the same back in the 80s. I told him he probably needed a minimum of a 20, but he needed to check the data plate and the manual of his radio before he made a purchase of one. And you need to buy slightly bigger than what your radio pulls. Now, having said that, every radio, you buy it new, comes with an operator's manual. And in the very first part of the manual, it's got a specification sheet. And it tells you everything that radio will do. And one of the things it says, power supply requirements. This is my old 701 rig. DC 13.6 volts, plus or minus 15%, negative ground current drain. 18 amps max at 200 watt input, which means, this is an old way of doing it, it's a 100 watt output radio. So at the minimum, you got to have a 20 amp power supply. That's only giving you 2 amps extra. So, and I operated mine on an Astron 20 at one time, RS20. Jeff operated old 180 on Astron 20. Now, my newer radio, I got more manuals here than I know what to do with. One thing I started putting all my manuals in binders where I quit losing them. My FT897D, same thing, open the manual. First thing you see, specifications. Transmitter, RF power output. Okay, current consumption. Squelch, 600 milliamps. Receive, 1 amp. Transmit, 22 amps. Okay. And it's got a 13.8 volt DC, plus or minus 15% negative ground. With that one transmitting at 22 amps max, which that's CW, that's dead key, full power out. PEP won't quite be that, but you need to adapt your supply accordingly. I bought a 35 amp continuous supply, an RS50 Astron, but I run other stuff on it. But you would need at least a 25 amp power supply to run that. So when you look at rigs, new or used, if you buy a new rig, it generally tells you in the description what the amp draw is. If you buy a used rig, it doesn't come with a manual, get online and download it because they're available. So I downloaded my 701 manual. I had to re-download my 897 manual because I lost the darn thing. So you've got to get a proper power supply because your radio won't operate correctly without it. And if you buy a used power supply, it's not a bad idea to hook a multimeter up in line while you're transmitting to see how bad your voltage drops, because that can cause problems right there too. Let's see, I got something else here. This is for new guys. And you can find this out in a band plan, and it should have covered in your license. Most HF bands have a preferred sideband. Almost all communications occurs on the preferred sideband. For example, 40 meters, 7 megahertz is lower sideband. 20, 17, 15, 12, 10, 50 megahertz is all upper sideband. That's just the way the band plan's set up. Pretty much everything 40 and below is lower sideband. But you need to know that before you get into this, once you get your license to get on those other frequencies, so you know where to operate at. There's something else going on here. We've talked about this in some earlier videos about emergency prep and emergency communication. Let me stop this quick before it goes interrupts me anymore. Amateur radio will set up to have a trained pool of operators in an event of a national or regional emergency, usually weather related, or it could be anything, for you to be able to provide communications in that area when normal communications are down. Like I said, I've done that before. A lot of hams have done that. That's what we're here for. I don't know I'm not going to get political because I don't believe politics and ham radio mix. I have my own political views just like you do, but in ham radio, I don't do that. A lot of people, in fact, I've seen posts being deleted on some pages about what's going on over in Europe right now with the Russia-Ukraine situation. Now, this is my viewpoint. We're here. They're there. We're not providing communications. And if they've got emergency communications going in that area, We need to stay away from it. Let them handle that. Ham radio doesn't need to be involved in the political side of that. And having said that, I know you're going to get on the lower bands and hear politics. That's just the way it is. There ain't nothing you can do about it. We've all heard the crap show on 7200 and other low bands. Best thing to do, take a VFO, spin away from it. Or if you're in contact with a station and they want to get political with you, my best rule of thumb is sign with them, wish them a great day, 73, and find something else. But that's as political as I'm going to get on this channel. Something else I was going to bring up. I hate it when I don't write stuff down. I can't remember all this stuff. But if you got any questions, ask somebody. I still see guys on Google, I'm not Google, but social media, asking, what's the best radio I need? What do I need to do to talk 50 miles? What do I need to do to talk 700 miles? Here's my best advice you can do with this hobby right now. Unless you are made of money and don't mind blasting tens of thousands of dollars at one time, and I've never been able to do that. Small steps. Take small steps, ease into this hobby, and learn it. I've been in here since 91. I still learn stuff that I didn't know. And a lot of stuff I've learned years ago helps me today in this hobby. But get on the air and listen. You don't have to have a big tower. You don't have to have a super newest antenna. You don't have to have the latest and greatest radio. Just get on the air, operate within the limits of your license, and the main thing is listen and learn the hobby and ease into it before you get a bunch of money spent on it. Because what'll happen, I'm seeing a lot of guys that are jumping out there buying everything from a Bay old phone to a super expensive talkie, and then they can't get it to work the way they want to, and they're getting flustered with it. Take your time. Ask questions. Ask me anything. If I don't have an answer, I will try to get it, or I'll tell you I don't know. But I will not give you a snarky answer, and I will not give you the NASA engineer answer. I'll try to help you the best way I can. Take some wire antenna, build you a dipole. You can work the world on a dipole. In fact, I got to get out and check my 17-meter dipole. I couldn't get it to load a while ago. We had a storm last night. I got to make sure something ain't messed with it. Look at different options for antennas. Push-up poles, ground-mounted antennas. But ease into the hobby the best way you can and learn it. I'm probably going to get chastised for this statement. I'm personally glad that they dropped the higher CW requirements to upgrade to general and extra, because that helped me out. Because look at some earlier videos, I've explained why I could not learn CW because I can't hear it. But I kind of wished they'd kept the novice 5-word per minute route to get on the air for this reason. When you was a novice, like I was, and you wanted to talk, you had to get on 10 meters. And you had to operate sideband, which exposed you to HF operations, DX contacts, and when 10 meters is rolling, you can work the world on a wire. So it gives you a good base of experience, and then you upgraded to tech, which give you the entire world above 50 megahertz. With this new licensing setup where these guys are techs right off the bat, they have access to 10, but they have access to all of that. And I still see a lot of guys that are settling with a talkie and operating repeaters. That's great. I ain't knocking that. I'm just afraid you're going to get bored with it. And you need to get a little aspect of all of it. Although I know it's a little more expensive. But if you look around, you can find deals. I've been seeing several of these 701s coming up for sale. I got a heck of a deal on mine, $150. It's got a little quirk or two to it, but it works. I make contacts with it. Look around for used gear and start going to sidewalk sales. Hey, Ham Radio Cat. And check MTC out. He's got used gear on there all the time, and most of his has a 30-day warranty, which is something you're not going to get from a sidewalk sale. All right, I've rambled enough. I'll remember Main Trading Company, Paris, Texas. Farmersville sidewalk sales first Saturday every month. I'm planning on going to that in April. Remember our nightly roundtable on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Friday nights on 10 meters, usually on 28, 450 or up, with depending on if there's a net on there or something. A lot of good Facebook pages. Ham Radio Flea Market Trading Post, Ham Radio, Amateur Radio Elmer's, Texas Amateur Ham Radio, club pages, Four States Amateur, Dallas Amateur, Cowtown Amateur Radio, Shreveport. All good places for information. I appreciate everybody who subscribed to the channel. This is KB5MIQ Big Boy 73.